Wings started with the idea that creating DAOs or creating any kind of blockchain-based business is difficult. And most people will need help for that. So currently, yeah? So anyhow, basically we came up with the idea that it's difficult to do this, and people will need help, right? And the idea is around, first of all, providing governance for making decisions in there are already DAOs that exist. Bitcoin, for example, is a DAO. And so the problem is, how do you make decisions, right? And so that's a big problem, and that's being tackled by a lot of groups right now. And so with Wings, the idea was that we would provide that kind of governance infrastructure, but to do that we also had to be a DAO. And so the Wings DAO is kind of twofold. It will allow people to create their own DAOs and have that technology around governance. But the Wings governance, there's also twofold. One is obviously being able to governance itself and making decisions around upgrades and that sort of thing. But also with allowing who else is allowed to be a DAO. And so the idea is that today, a lot of people doing ICOs, and how many of you know what an ICO is? Okay, and how many of you have invested in one? Okay, not so bad. So kind of going to another area for a minute. If you are in one of the major tech hubs around the world, it's very easy to get venture capital. And why is that? Because that's where the VCs are. If you are a smart guy somewhere else in the world, how easy is it for you to get money? A lot harder. You got to go to Silicon Valley, you got to go to London, you got to go to one of the major tech hubs. And so one of the interesting things that I think ICOs provide is that money is flowing all the way around the world, right? There's no regulation on this stuff, basically, right? So if you're someone in South Africa and you like an idea from someone in Moscow or from Los Angeles, you can give them money, right, and participate in that ICO. And so the movement of money for ideas and people and teams is kind of accelerated, and the length or effort required between the distance between people is shortened. So that's an interesting thing, but the problem again is there's no regulation, right? So people I can assemble a team, maybe he's gonna be on it, she's gonna be on it, and we're gonna make an ICO, we have a great idea, we collect a few thousand Bitcoins, which today is a few million, right? And then we disappear. So this has actually happened and is happening today. And so the problem is that governments are not going to be able to react to it because you're talking like a few hundred governments, right? They can't control the blockchain, basically. So we have to come up with ways to control it ourselves. And so the idea around Wings is that the DAO is used to make decisions on, is a proposal a scam or is it something real, a real business? And if it's a real business, what is the value of it? Because today also another issue is that some of you may not notice, but there's some ICOs that maybe in 1 hour completely sell out. And so what I'm thinking as an entrepreneur, obviously a lot of these people are, the way it's structured these days, it's not like a traditional kind of VC investment where they can create more shares later on and do a follow-on round because they need more, they've proven that they've gotten to stage 1, now they need more money to go to stage 2. So that doesn't exist. They sell out all the coins. And so if you do this way and you sell out in 1 hour, what does that tell you? If you're a salesperson, you know what that means. It means, hey, there's money on that table that I left off. So you were thinking, why didn't I know that I can get 5 million and I only took 2? Because I didn't know the value of the thing, the idea, and the team. And so part of what Wings does is it brings people together in the idea of like swarm intelligence and allows them to create forecasts for an idea. And when they create forecasts and that idea then gets funding, the people who are more accurate in their forecast get rewarded. And over time, that develops a meritocracy where we can track people and see, okay, this guy in, well, wherever he may be, we won't know because it's on the blockchain, but he's really good at maybe estimating the value of hardware type opportunities. Or this person is really good at estimating the value of nonprofit projects that are going to be successful. Or that person understands things that are, from Chinese or Italian or French or Spanish, right? So these kind of, it allows us to pull people together to do due diligence and valuation for a decentralized system. Because today, if you're a VC, you do the due diligence yourself, you talk to your buddies, and you do like a little kind of, swarm gather. It used to happen in Silicon Valley 15 years ago. People get together, the entrepreneurs would present, and you ask them some questions, then they leave the room, and all the VCs got together and talked about, like, okay, what are the strengths, weaknesses, and is this a real opportunity or not? Should we invest in it or not, right? So obviously, if with ICOs, we're all not in the same room, but there's a way to kind of share that data and kind of mimic that same environment to decide if something is real or not. And so the first project that we will have is going to be coming out probably at the end of this month. Right now, we're finishing up some of the contracts. We're kind of going step by step. So the first ICO on the platform will be doing the forecasting, but the math model and the reward distribution will probably happen maybe like a month later, because we want to make sure that everything's okay with the contracts, and it's a complex system. We'd rather go a little bit slow and be careful and do it the right way. So what I'm going to show you here is the forecasting process, and I'm going to log in here. And so if you look at how this is set up, it's just basically like your regular Kickstarter. You got your Kool-Aid DAO, you got your Snapchat IPO, that sort of thing. And so anyone can come in here and start a project. And I'm going to create another project here. It's a pretty simple process. And the cool thing with this is that basically, while we see this kind of interface, because it's based on blockchain technology, so it's on Ethereum, and it will be on RSK probably later in the year as well. And all the data, like the photos and stuff, are getting stored on IPFS, which is a kind of decentralized file storage system. And let me go and find the. So I'm going to use, actually, I don't have it here. I am going to take a screenshot. So this is one of the projects that should be on the system later in the month or next month. And it's a really interesting project because they found a way to kind of provide liquidity for all sorts of coins. So basically, the idea is that, like with the internet, people, I don't know why this is not working. Like with the internet, Blogger.com came out like 15 years ago, and everyone started making their own blog, right? And so the idea is that with coins, people are going to want to make their own coins. Like, I have friends that are artists, and I live in Ibiza. And so I have friends that are hippies and artists, and they want to make hippie money, okay? So it sounds like a silly idea, but they actually have people accepting this paper hippie money in Ibiza, and they're getting coffee and stuff like that for it, and champagne and whatever. So the thing is, the problem with those kind of local monies is that they don't have liquidity. And so what these guys at Bancor figured out is a way to kind of automatically provide reserves for all these local monies, and that solves the liquidity problem. So let's say platform. And so the important thing here is the reward, right? So people are not going to, if you go to a bank and you want to have something valued, like you want to sell your property, someone has to value it, right? How much is it worth? And so in this case, you have to offer something, right, to them. And so in this case, what we're letting the projects do is that they offer a percentage of the coins that are going to be created to the DAO forecasters. And so they would set this amount. And so the thing is, the amount could be anything. It could be 10%, which obviously would be maybe a little bit too much, but it could be 0.5%. So it's really not an excuse for anyone to say, well, the system's too expensive. I don't want to give up, 5% because that's too expensive to have 1,000 people looking at my project and rating it. So you can say 0.5%, and you can say that, hey, crowdfunding is going to go on for 10 days, and my funding goal is 10,000 BTC. And it's going to be created. There's a bit of other info I would put in here. I'm just making it as simple for you guys since I got to do two things at once here with holding this microphone. And the stories it created. The other thing that we're implementing, which I think is a really cool thing, it's not going to be available in the first version at the end of this month, but it's the idea of milestones. And so imagine that, forget about ICOs of like fancy blockchain, whatever site projects, but someone wants to build a school in some developing country, right? And they send some money, and their friends send some money, and at the end of the year, is there a school? Maybe not, right? So with this, there's ways to, with the blockchain, people can provide proof, and we can provide international escrow, right? So with the milestones payments, the idea behind that is that some amount of money gets released to the entrepreneurs or the project team, but then if the DAO, the people that put money into that project, feel that, hey, where's the photos of the schools? I went there, and there's a field of rocks, right? So they can then say to the other members of the DAO, hey, we need to pull this money back until these guys deliver the next milestone. And so that's an extra security measure that we don't see today also with a lot of the ICOs and projects. Like some of them raise 5,000, 10,000 Bitcoins, and do they really need all that like in the next year? Some of them don't even spend it. There's projects out there that are sitting on like 5 or 10,000 in capital, and it's not really being used. So is that a good investment? I don't think so. At least, yeah, but that's I think most people would agree with that. So let's say the first milestone is 1,000, and it's a basic platform. It's a platform for local coins. And I'm going to add that item, and then I'm going to add that in there. And then I'm going to add in advanced platform for ETFs. All right, so save that. So milestone 1. And then I have 9,000 left. 9,000. So add that in there. Oops. And that should be it. And I'm going to publish the project. So this is actually, oh, that's right, I forgot about this. So when this is published, it's sent to the, well, in this case, the Ethereum blockchain that's on a test dev server. And in the real world case, it would be actually Ethereum. And then the files are sent up to, like the image files are sent up to IPFS. And so the project's going to show up here, and basically what happens on the forecasting side, so I can forecast on my own project. This is actually, so this is not the end, how the actual slider. The one issue that we found actually is this slider is a real pain in the butt. Like, you can write the smart contracts and all this kind of stuff, but to make something so simple like this interface work well, when you can go from, maybe someone just needs one BTC. Hey, I want one BTC to open up a lemonade stand, you know, or half a BTC. So maybe even less than that. Or they need 10,000 because they want to create some big real estate empire or something like that, right? So how you scale this and all these interface issues, we're still working through those. But anyway, I'm going to say that, hey, that's a great idea. So I'm going to say they're going to get more than they want. So they're going to get like over 10,000. And I can put a great comment, great team, and save my forecast. And so all of this happens in the browser. You guys see when the password comes up, what that is doing is that the private key for doing all the transactions is stored on the browser side. And the password is used to decrypt that, and then it sends the transaction to the server or to the network. So basically what will happen is that we're going to host this, but anyone else is going to be able to take this code, and they're going to be able to obviously on Ethereum, so they can take this code and they can make wings for Russia, they can make wings for Amsterdam, they can make wings for Latin America or whatever, and they can make it. They could also eventually, is because there's categories, they can make it so that it's focused on specific areas. So if they want to focus it on nonprofits, they can do it for that. If they want to focus it on blockchain, which is probably going to be, to be honest, that's going to be the first one, obviously, they can do it for that. And so it's an open system that anyone can participate in, but the cool thing is that they get access to all these people that are interested in evaluating projects, right? And so they get compensated for valuing correctly. And so so hopefully that's going to grow, and we'll start with ICOs, and then move it on to hopefully other spaces as well. So anyone have any questions? Sure.
Basically, if I summarize it, it looks a lot like Kickstarter with Bitcoins. Is it a little bit like that?
Yeah, sort of, but in a way, it's like disintermediated Kickstarter. So like Kickstarter, if I put a scam onto Kickstarter, well, the problem is like even GoFundMe, there are cases where there's like some tragedy that happens, and someone goes on there and says, yeah, it was really my cousin that got hit by this car, please send me money. And then, like 3 weeks later, you see an article that they got arrested. So in a way, it is that. And the cool thing with blockchain is you can look at any business and you can disintermediate what are the centralized parts of it. So in the case of Kickstarter, that's like the approval process of is something like a legit project. But in the case of like ICOs, it's not just that, it's also around the valuation. Because like the Kickstarter thing is about like people just like giving money, and with ICOs you're kind of getting some, not really equity, but you're getting some kind of stake in some kind of system, right? And so there has to be sort of some valuation of that. Just like if you're going to buy a house, you want to find like, it was built next to a nuclear waste dump. I don't want to buy that house. Or no, there's like a really nice river next to it. Okay, then it's worth more. And it's information that you might not have. And so using the crowd to get this information is, in my opinion, that's kind of like the future of valuing items. Is you wouldn't necessarily rely on one person, like some kind of estimator or whatever that's specialized in things. But you might go to many estimators, and you can use the system to say like, hey, how much is this thing worth, right?
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions?
I think there's two back
I'll
there.
just
or three.
drop down here. First hands? Yeah.
Hi there. How well are you connected to the venture capitalists? Using your platform instead of others?
Well, so here's the thing. It's interesting because the VC people seem to understand what this is about. And the ones we've talked to get it. And a lot of the ones, especially in places outside the US where they don't, sometimes access to capital markets is not as good as or well developed as the US. They're interested in this kind of a platform because it allows them to reach a lot more people and also kind of get the people that forecast that something is going to get a lot more money than it expects also are, they get a small percentage. So they have a financial incentive to also promote the project, to see that their prophecy is realized. Can put it that way.
Since you opened up the subject, how much money is channeled through the platform already?
Like I said, this will probably be the first one at the end of this month or early, I'm sorry, I think they will start in early April.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
What is the value proposition of holding the DAO tokens themselves?
So here's the thing, is that if you don't work, you're basically, well, you're hoping that other people will work so that they go up in value. The way the formula works actually is that it's not, the compensation based on accuracy isn't just on how many Wings tokens you own. That's kind of like the baseline starting point. But there's a kind of forecast rating system that's built in.
If you don't participate in the forecasting themselves, what drives the value?
If you don't participate, the people who, there's only like two things, basically. There's the anti-spam, so people, but this is like very small amount. I mean, it's not gonna be a lot.
Right?
Yeah, there's like some fee. So there's that, but there would have to be like thousands and thousands of, you know.
Yeah.
And then there is also that the people who actually are working on the system might want to bump up their reward. So it's kind of like a multiplier.
Pump the price, essentially, is what you're saying.
What's that?
Someone might just pump the price, but there's nothing actually driving the value of the tokens then.
No. That's what I'm trying to give you the formula. Like if you're a good forecaster and you forecast and you have 100 wings, but you're a good forecaster, so you get some reward. If all of a sudden you 10x your number of wings, you will get more reward.
That's for the forecasters, not just a holder, obviously.
Yeah. We don't want people there just holding. If they're just holding, I mean, they're not adding value to the system. So they can go and do something else.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So I was wondering. So if I understood it correctly, that people who forecast are also the same people who back, or is it different?
The same people
who back the project?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily.
So is there kind of the forecasters take a week to forecast, and then
there's nothing excluding someone from backing who has also forecasted, but the idea is that there's a smaller community. It's just like IPOs. Okay, you have a company, you go to Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs says, okay, no, your company sucks. Sorry, we're not going to take you IPO. Or they say, hey, your company is great. We want to put you guys on the NASDAQ tomorrow, right? So they're doing the due diligence. They're making the valuation. Someone has to do that. There always has to be someone that does that. So in this case, with these Bitcoin ICOs, who's doing that? It's a couple entrepreneurs thinking like, yeah, okay, we want to raise 3 million, and maybe they raise 300,000, or all of a sudden they raise 3 million in 2 hours, and they've just sold 80% of their coins, and then they're thinking like, oh no, what happens if we need more money? We just gave it away.
Yeah.
And then it goes onto one of these exchanges, and it's valued at, let's say, 20 million. That means they left money on the table. And so how do you create an honest system for them to get valuation feedback that is honest? You can only do it by compensating enough people and creating a system like this where they're competing against each other for providing honest feedback. Because if they don't do that, their forecast rating goes down, and
Yeah.
they don't get as much of a reward.
Okay, clear. Thanks.
Thank you. So, Dominic, thank you very much for the presentation. For
Hopefully I'll be back next time with
the wings.
the real thing working.
I'm really looking forward to it. You said in 1 month there will be the first project on it?
Yeah, we're hoping that the first real forecasting will happen in the beginning of April at the end of this month. We're doing some forecast testing in the next couple weeks. So basically we have like maybe, I don't know, there's like 1,500 people that donated. So what we're doing is we're taking some of the ICOs that are on the market now, and we're going to put them into our test system, and we'll let those folks kind of, they're only going to get rewarded with a few thousand bucks, but
Okay. But,
we'll see how it.
testing it.
Yeah.
Let's see how it goes, and
Yeah.
hope to have you next time here.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.